I've been saying for weeks I've been wanting to do a garden tour to just catalog what all needs to be done and to share that information and keep a record for the future. I'm going to give you a bit of the tour of the garden as it stands right now. Please don't look too horrified. It's quite a mess, but hopefully over the next year and some we can see some progress and clean this up a bit. This is our back deck. It's a bit overgrown at the moment, but Ash did come in here and take care of a lot of the weeds with the weed whacker. We've still got a bunch to go through. We've obviously got some trees in there that don't belong there. And we've got this burdock root that's just really overgrown, and even though I'd love to be able to harvest it for herbal supplements and stuff, I don't really know how to deal with it. So we should probably just get rid of it for now. Down over here, we got a bunch of these red Bud Saplings. These all need to come down. There's some Japanese honeysuckle that are lovely and tasty, but also invasive. So I really want to take those down. We've got this tree that's unfortunately dead. It's a beautiful flowering dogwood. What we've talked about doing is maybe removing that and planting in a Japanese maple instead, or a red maple, something to give a little bit of color out here. This is the back door to the den. As you can see, there's no real pathway to get to it. I did put down that board to keep saplings from coming up, but I'd really like to clear that through so that we can eventually use that door. But right now, the door does need to be replaced. That's something that we determined a long time ago. And on the other side of it is the couch that we have now. So it's not super important that we get that open and going. But still, I'd love to just get rid of all of the greenery back here. We've got this walkway to the patio, which still works out pretty nicely. Obviously, it still needs to be weeded a bit, and I'd love to get this mulched so it doesn't just look like a piece of plywood. And put in some paving stones to go right to the yard and onto the patio. As you can see at the far end, we've got the fence door that needs to be taken down on the patio or replaced. And we had some limbs fall down during one of the big rainstorms that we had. I really want to get this patio set up better too. I'd love to have beams that come across that have fairy lights on them and everything. And we obviously need to replace this fence. It's not pretty sturdy, honestly, and some parts of it are less sturdy than others. So I want to get that taken down and get a privacy fence out here. And I've been thinking about maybe moving it a little further that way towards the street so we can have some more of this area around the patio opened up to hang out here. Going back to the backyard, one of the things that I'd really like to do is in all of this area that's walkable, technically, where we have the yard, I would love to sheet mulch this whole area. I think it'll be easier for us to actually plan gardening and plan landscaping that we can do on our own if we don't have to keep all this tall grass from coming back too. It's less that we have to weed, and then we can actually put down some paving stones to figure out what we want to do. So I wanted to put a walkway in through here and around over here so that then you can then connect it to the back door once we get that replaced, and up through into the main garden area so that then you hit the garden, do all your gardening right here, and then after that send it around to where the fence is and have that move out to the front yard. Check out this plant. I don't know what this is, but it's pretty. I thought it was a piece of garlic at first. Looks like it's got some sort of egg sac on it. I don't know. Can we focus on that? No. Yeah, there's some sort of egg sac on that. Cool looking plant. I don't know what it is. Gotta trim out all of these bushes. All of these bushes need to be cut and taken back and taken down. Last year, I got pretty much all of them. A lot of the debris that you see on the ground is actually from trimming back so much of this greenery, and it's just all back again. We got a very lush green backyard that loves growing the things that I don't want to grow. This little planter is a 5 bucket gallon planter that Ash found on Facebook. And we put together, like we grabbed the wood and cut it and put it together. It's obviously not the straightest thing possible, but it is sturdy. It is put together with a bunch of nails. And we've got a couple of our buckets out here. Unfortunately, the plants in them don't seem to be doing the best. You know, we've got what looks like burning from the plants after they've been out here. And they're just little wimpy things. We've had a bunch of rain today, so I'm not too worried about them not getting enough water. At least not right now. But yeah, they're not doing the best. This one's doing okay. This black cherry tomato plant is acclimating fine enough, but it did have a big leaf drop off of it today. We just got these strawberries in, and they were the saddest looking strawberry plants that I had seen in a long ass time. They just look dried and shriveled up and everything else. But look at this. Look at how green they are. Like, yeah. These plants have popped back like nobody's business. They really like being in these grow bags, which is real great because that's what we had available. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. So pretty. I'm real excited for the strawberries. I love fresh strawberries. This box full of weeds is one of the attempts at raised beds that I was putting together. This was a logistics systems box that we found in the garage, and I just kind of filled it with compost. And obviously I haven't really done anything else with it in a while. It needs to be weeded pretty bad, and we need to fill it with some more compost or soil because Ash is going to plant onions in here. One afternoon I think we're going to come in here and do a bunch of weeding and get that planted up. Got so much overgrowth. It looks more like a forest floor than a yard, which to me is perfect. I would much rather have a forest floor than a yard in all cases. It's one of our volunteer blackberries. We planted some blackberries on the side of the house many years ago at this point, and it sends up runners all over the yard. See, we've got one here and one here and one there, and there's even some way over by the back door. That monstrous thing is a rose bush. I hate to say the word bush. It's not very bushy. There's a lot of dead stuff that needs to be trimmed away, but it's still living. It's still thriving. It's got some blooms that look like they're about to go too. So I'd love to clean that up and get some roses back in the garden. Let's go around here. Look at all this clover. I don't mind the clover. The clover never gets too tall. And then there's also a bunch of violets around here that don't get too tall either. But some of this grass, especially when let to go normal heights, they're pretty, but they're huge. So I gotta work on that. Obviously, I need to trim down a lot of the grass around this gate. I was doing some mowing last week, but it started raining before I could finish it up. So this whole area definitely needs a lot of help. Speaking of our blackberries, check these out. They're blooming right now. So we've got a whole bunch of blackberries blooming. And secret down here, right underneath the blackberries, let's see if I can get a good picture. These are gooseberries. I saw a bunch of gooseberries on it earlier, but I don't see quite as many. I wonder if the birds got to them. But as you can see, oh yeah, there's some. Yeah, they still got a bunch of gooseberries on it. I have no idea how to tell when those are ripe, so I don't exactly know when to pick them, but they're cute and I like them when I do. The mulberry tree is producing mulberries. Never been a super big fan of mulberries, but they are impossible to get rid of. So we're gonna have some mulberries. Oh, hey, look, we've got some more gooseberries down over here too. Yeah, just a little bit. So that's great. All right, so moving a little bit further into the yard. This is the south side of the yard. Got some leftover blackberry canes that we trimmed that need to be removed from this area. Got more of the beautiful flowering blackberries. Then this is kind of where I ended the walkway or sheet mulching that I was doing before. I wanted to have a walkway from the driveway to the backyard, and this is where things ended up. I got a decent amount done. We moved a bunch of mulch from this mulch pile over here. We were able to get most of it. I really wanted to get it all the way out to the street over there, because if I can sheet mulch it, I don't have to mow it. And that's the goal, is to not have to mow or not have to spend yard work doing things that I don't really want to do anyway. I'd rather spend yard work like weeding and planting and doing all that than anything else. So trying to get rid of the yard. We'll see if we make it. This is our wildflower garden. It's a little unkempt, but that's a little bit on purpose. We got some phlox that we planted a few years ago, intermingling with the violets really nicely. There's so many violets. We must have ants all over the yard, since violets need ants to propagate. In the containers, we've got some wild clover here. I didn't plant that. That was originally calendula, but I didn't do anything with it this year, so we've got wild clover. And on this one, we've got some, this is lavender. A lot of it's kind of died back, but there's still green parts to it. So I don't know if that's good or bad, really, but that's what we've got. And then all this beautiful stuff is creeping thyme. And I really would like to get some more of that as actual ground cover, because it's really nice. I love how it spills over the pot in that way. That's our compost pile from the stuff that was delivered. Obviously, the weeds are loving it. They are really getting up on top of it, but that's okay. We'll just turn that into green compost when we move all the rest of it. So we'll put that in the compost bin and it'll be nice and active. And then these plants are all, I think, a bunch of native plants that Ren and John planted while they were over here at the house. So we've got some beautiful native plants that I don't know anything about. I believe this is lamb's ear. This is just gorgeous. Like, it was maybe half the size last year, and it's now popped out to this much. And I love it. I want more plantings of this. This is great. It feels wonderful. Like, each one of these leaves is really fuzzy and soft, and it's just a beautiful plant for the garden. So I would love to have more of that. The front yard's really overgrown as well. As you can see, like, I did start to sheet mulch it. I sheet mulched most of this area last year, but the weeds still just took it over like crazy this year. So I want to sheet mulch it again. Last year I used cardboard and then compost and then mulch. What I think I'm going to try to do to change things up is only put compost in areas where I'm actively planning on growing things. I want to help add nutrients to the soil, but I think I can do that with just mulch and compost and not like proliferating weeds like we are right now, because this is a little ridiculous. Just so much of them. This raised bed was a raised bed that I put in, I think 6 years ago or something. It's untreated wood. It's not put together super well or anything, but it's still held up all this time. Out here we've planted some of our zinnia. You can see it's just starting to come out. It's also a little bit sunburnt, it seems. I think we may not be hardening our seedlings enough. I need to look into that or something. See, this is what I mean about mulberries. I trimmed this back almost to its roots probably last year, and it is just back again. I need to trim it out again. This is elephant garlic that I planted several years ago. And elephant garlic has the interesting property of not rotting in the ground if you just leave it there. Because the thing is, I don't really know when to harvest garlic. I kind of know, and I look it up every year, but I seem to miss the window. I would need to look it up this year because I really want to harvest it and see how big it is. We've also got this smaller raised bed here. And it's real nice. We've got two different types of, well, I thought we had two different types of coneflower in here, but I'm pretty sure that this is just a weed. I'm not entirely certain. That doesn't look like coneflower as I know it. But who knows? We'll let it see for a little bit and kind of see what the flowers look like. Coneflower was the latest bloomer that we had last year, so I won't know what it is for certain until then. I'm not as familiar with it as I would like to be. A lot of the plants in the bags are either, so as you can see back over there, that looks like it's some sort of lettuce or broccoli or something like that that came from last year. and I haven't been harvesting it this year, so I don't really know what it is. These are some sort of weed that I really don't know what they are either, but they really like to self-seed. So most of these are unwanted plants of one form or another. This, however, is not. I am really excited about this. This is our elderberry plant. It kind of got left lost and forgotten in this pot, and I feel really bad about that because I was really excited for having an elderberry plant. And now we have one. It's survived. Hey, who knows? Maybe I'll have one yet. I'm going to kind of wait till the fall, till it's dormant again. I think that's when you're supposed to plant it. So I'm going to let it go through all summer in the pot that it's in. But I'm going to try to plant it in the ground somewhere. Not entirely sure where. I'm thinking about like right over here in this space, like clear out the stuff that's beneath it and just have an elderberry plant next to the hedge and coming out over here. I think that would be really pretty. A lot of this greenery I think we want to get rid of too. Like all these trees and stuff are mostly volunteers. It is exciting to have some of these. Like we've got some wild cherry. One of these trees is wild cherry. Is it this one? I think it's these. I'm not really certain until it's actually fruiting cherries, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. And it's gorgeous when they bloom, and then the bark can be used in herbal remedies, or so I've been told. But I'd like to get rid of some of this back here so we can get back to the hedge that's actually back there, and then maybe put a path through it to the other side of the yard. Well, we'll come around all this right now. Got an old stump down here that always does pretty cool things with fungus, and these plants love it because they're basically growing out of it at this point. But I do need to trim back this area. I want to trim back everything in here. This is our shade garden. Ren planted a lot of this too. I don't know a ton about shade plants, so I'd like to learn more. Ash and their family know a lot about hostas, which are really great shade plants. We've already got these like beautiful ferns here and there and over there, and these flowers that seem to do really great in the shade too. So I'm excited for all that. And then I think we're going to plant some hostas to go around here. See, look, here's the Japanese honeysuckle again. Gotta get rid of that. Gotta cut down some of these trees. And here's that limb that I was talking about. This set of limbs, I guess, really fell off the tree, I want to say last year in the late fall or winter, and took the gate down with it. And I've moved the tree limbs to the side, but we really need a more permanent solution for that. And so you can see the patio on that side. This bush needs to be cleaned up some more. I want to take some of the smaller growth down from around the side, but it's got such beautiful little flowers. I love the way that it looks. I just want it to be more like up and Y-shaped instead of bushy on the bottom. And then we've got all of this yard, which I don't really know what to do with, but that's why we're thinking about, moving the fence from that side over there and moving it out this way more so that it's, not right up against the sidewalk, but a little bit further out. And then we can have the patio back there and a little bit of space that maybe we can put like a water feature or some plants and, really do something like that. And this is a lot of yard that we just really don't use because it's on the other side of that fence, So it'd be really nice to kind of reclaim some of this area here. And it doesn't look like awful or anything. It's just, we have to mow this yard all the time, and we have to mow the area next to the street. And why do that if we're not actually enjoying the yard? So I'd love to move this over, 6-8 feet and really gain some space back. I think that'd be really nice. And then we've got to trim back this area. I think everything up to like the trees over there belongs to us as well. So we've got to really kind of take care of that area a bit more. But it looks nice right now. Like, yes, it's overgrown, but it's overgrown with flowering plants. Even if they're invasives, they're flowering plants. And then we've got these down here that I think are daylilies. So it doesn't look too bad. It looks curated mostly, so I'm not super worried about that. I think when we get mulch delivered, I'm going to see if they can deliver it on this side. because we need to get mulch delivered, but doing it in the driveway where it was just kind of in the way all the time. But if we can get it delivered here, maybe a little bit closer to the front, especially if we take down the fence. But, you know, if we can do it a little bit closer to the front, like this area right up here would be perfect, because then we can sheet mulch this entire area, right? We can do that, and then whatever we have left, we can take into the patio and into the backyard and finish that up. But it would be nice to get all of our public facing areas done. That's the garden as it is now. It clearly needs a ton of work. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I know it needs a ton of work. You know, it's still a nice place to be. I'm really excited for this once we can get this yard wrangled a bit. It's got a lot of potential. We can really turn this into a wilderness ecosystem and plant a lot of perennial edible foods for both us and the wildlife. And I think it's going to be great. So I'm excited to work on it. It's probably going to be more in the range of like years than year, but I'm really excited about it.